The IRS, even the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, both say a cut to the IRS would actually cost more than it saves. The CBO saying what a $14 billion IRS cut would cost taxpayers almost $27 billion in lost tax revenue. The IRS commissioner saying it's much more than that.
It's sort of a peculiar sort of Washington kind of conclusion that the Biden administration gave about $40 billion allocated. We're going to spend $40 billion on the IRS. If we want to spend $14 billion less, that somehow is scored as adding to the debt. This is conjecture based on they think if you hire IRS agents, you get more taxes. But guess what? You don't always get it. And the CBO has been wrong historically on these things. And so if the complaint here is that, oh, the CBO score says it's not going to save any money, we'll do another cut, I'm open, I'm all ears. But you don't hear any Democrats or Republicans that are for this big kitchen sink approach to all $100 billion in aid. Not one of them are talking about another offset. So if there's a better offset, I'm open to that as well. But there needs to be an offset. And I think reducing spending is actually what it means. It means actually what you're doing. You're reducing spending.
Let's talk Kentucky politics. Last night, Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear won re-election pretty comfortably in a state that Donald Trump had carried by 26 points a couple years ago. You campaigned for the Republican challenger, Daniel Cameron. Is it a bad sign for the party that you lost this race?
I think it's an interesting election result. We had the same result 4 years ago where we had 5 Republican candidates that won statewide and one that didn't. That was Governor Bevin at the time. We got almost the exact same result. People previously blamed it on Governor Bevin being a bad candidate, but Daniel Cameron got the exact same result. Interestingly, in 2019, when Daniel Cameron ran for another office, he also got 100,000 more votes than Bevin. So we've got this splitting of tickets. We have about 100,000 voters in Kentucky who will vote for a Democrat at the top and vote for a Republican for every other position. So it's a curious result. And I think it has to do with the fact that governors are often the face of the disbursement of money. So even though a lot of disaster money comes from the federal government, many of the federal politicians are in Washington all the time. The one person who's there all of the time and becomes the face of delivering the check to the community is the governor. So you do find that governors across the United States are often reelected, and the chance of an incumbent winning again is very high because they are the face of government spending.
All right, let me ask you about a topic that's sort of a pet peeve of mine. You've talked a lot about weaponization of the Department of Justice, and in particular about Attorney General Merrick Garland. You believe that he's been targeting conservatives. But let me ask you this. How do you reconcile that with the reality that, just in the past, let's say 24 months on Garland's watch, the DOJ has gone after a host of prominent Democrats: Senator Bob Menendez, former California Congressman TJ Cox, Louisiana Democratic Party Chair Karen Carter Peterson, former Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum, now the senior aide to New York City Mayor Abrams as well. The list goes on and on. And how do you reconcile the idea that they're just going after conservatives when you have all of these Democrats as well?
I think if you talk to Republican voters, as I do a lot, our perspective is that we look at and we compare someone like Hunter Biden to Paul Manafort, because a lot of the accusations are the same, involved in perhaps shady dealings in foreign countries with a lot of money changing hands between corporate interests that also have governmental interests. Neither one of them had a license to do this as a foreign agent. Manafort was accused of tax violations. Hunter Biden's been accused of having a 10-carat diamond or something that, for all we know, went up his nose because he can't remember what happened to the diamond. And yet nobody seems to be prosecuting, Hunter Biden for much. In fact, only a quirk of one judge finally putting the kibosh on it. Looks like he might get tried for something that's really ancillary to all this. Manafort, they threw the book at. I think he was facing 20 years in prison because he hadn't committed a crime. He got 7 years in prison for, I think, accusations and potential crimes that are at least very, very similar to Hunter Biden, who seems to be skating because of his father.
It sounds like what you're doing is taking isolated examples of situations where your position and others think that certain Democrats should have been prosecuted more, et cetera, or they make a comparison, but it doesn't really address the fundamentals of what the DOJ is doing every day, and it ignores
for
all of the
example,
Democrats they're going after.
But for example, there were people accused of the same crime that Fauci's been accused of, lying to Congress, who were rousted out of bed at 6 in the morning with 17 FBI agents. Typically for sort of a crime like lying to Congress is considered to be more like a white-collar crime. You're not like a threat to go to Brazil or something overnight. You're given notice and people are allowed to come into court. The fact that these were done as sort of big demonstrations of the power and might, it makes people think, and people do believe, and not without warrant, that the government is treating people differently based on their ideology and their political association. Well, this is very concerning because this will continue and possibly lead to more strife in our country.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.